Ancient northern legends often serve as biological maps, preserving the memory of specific human migrations through names we now categorize as gods. Many historical discussions online are sidetracked by the claim that Iceland's earliest historian, Ari the Learned, recorded the god Odin as a king of the Turks. The actual record is more precise. Ari identifies the progenitor as a figure named Yngvi. Modern confusion occurs when the names of rigid genealogical ancestors are later swapped with fluid, migrating deities. Dismissing these records because of their divine names ignores their actual function. To early European societies, these lineages were structural anchors, fixed measurements of descent that mapped political and social reality. We see exactly how these dynastic anchors functioned in the earliest English historical records. Texts compiled by scholars like Bede and the authors of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle document multiple independent kingdoms, all tracing their royal descent back to a single progenitor, Woden. This animated diagram maps out those lineages, allowing us to use them as mathematical instruments. By taking known historical kings and counting backward, assigning roughly 20 to 30 years per generation, we establish a concrete timeline for these pedigrees. Whether we trace the line of Kent, Wessex, or Mercia, the independent family trees consistently converge on the exact same window of time, between 250 and 450 CE. This creates a specific historical anomaly. This narrow, late Roman window remained burned into the dynastic memory of Northern Europe for centuries. Testing this timeline requires shifting from the library to the human cell to find an independent testing mechanism. Ancient DNA analysis recovers genetic profiles directly from historical remains. This provides a direct witness to the past, capturing the ancestry of individuals before it was altered by centuries of later mixing. By targeting mitochondrial DNA, researchers trace uncorrupted maternal lineages. This distinguishes whether an ancient culture changed because new ideas spread, or because a new population physically moved in and replaced the old one. Recently, scientists developed time-stratified ancestry models, like a method called twigstats. By focusing strictly on genetic branches that split in recent history, this tool allows paleogeneticists to map specific population movements across Europe during the first millennium CE. We now possess a biological baseline. We can take the timeline claimed by those ancient manuscripts and test it against the physical movement of human DNA. This map outlines Northern Europe and the British Isles during the late Roman period. It highlights the North Sea corridor, a geography on the brink of massive demographic upheaval. Using these new genomic tools, studies detect a massive influx of Scandinavian-related ancestry expanding southward and eastward across this exact geography during the early first millennium. Physical evidence confirms this timeline. Genetic sequencing of an individual found at Driftfield Terrace in York confirms that people carrying Scandinavian ancestry were living in Britain between the 2nd and 4th centuries. When we line up this biological expansion with the dates calculated from the ancient English pedigrees, the two independent data streams lock together. The royal genealogies successfully preserved a structural memory of a demographic disruption. They pinpoint an era that actually predates the traditional textbook dates for the Anglo-Saxon migrations. These precise pagan timelines survived centuries of cultural change. By the 9th century, courtly writers working for kings like Alfred the Great were actively adapting these lineages to fit a new theological worldview. To legitimize their rulers, Christian scribes attached biblical figures like Noah and Adam to the royal family trees. But instead of rewriting the recent history, they simply attached these biblical names to the very top of the existing list. Appending new names to the distant past inadvertently protected the authentic generational math in the middle. The specific number of generations between the historical kings of England and Woden remained entirely intact. These texts acted as resilient vessels. Despite massive cultural and religious shifts, they carried the exact timing of a historical migration across hundreds of years. This new evidence redefines the figure of Woden in the historical record. Woden functions as a fixed marker, denoting a very real historical pressure zone when the Roman world was breaking apart. He stands as a point of chronological stability rather than a figure of immeasurable myth. Crossing ancient texts with modern paleogenomics proves that early medieval people used genealogy as a sophisticated tool. They were recording the actual demographic reshaping of their world. The legends of our ancestors accurately encode the biological realities of human origins. Moving beyond the myth reveals the history hidden in the blood.